so it doesn't echo too bad.
Okay.
Instead of getting in there.
Okay.
All right, we've made it to the inside. We know we've all marble. This is still marble. It's just pink Tennessee marble.
Good state.
Yep. Yeah. And then the pedestal is also pink Tennessee marble. Mr. Lincoln is Georgia marble. Now I'll give him my spiel on the murals because you got it. Okay. Obviously the murals are the same painter. You can tell that a lot of the things in the design are the same. There's two key things that you want to look for. In the middle of each mural is an angel. The artist calls her the angel of truth. In this depiction, she has her arms upraised. As she raises her arms, the slaves on either side of her, their shackles and chains fall off. That is to symbolize Mr. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. That also nicely matches up over the Gettysburg Address speech. The Gettysburg Address speech, of course, you guys have some familiarity with it, of course. Let me try to tell you maybe a couple things you didn't know about it. It's just over 200 words. It only took him 2 minutes to do the whole speech. It was done in November 1863, a few months after the battle. The battle was in July. Thousands of people, of course, lost their lives. What a lot of people don't know is that Mr. Lincoln, President Lincoln was not considered, he was not the invited, he was not the head speaker. He was only invited to make remarks. The chief speaker was a man named Edward Everett. He was considered America's best orator. He spoke for 2 hours. He spoke for so long that people were getting bored waiting for him to get done. He got done with his 2-hour speech. Mr. Lincoln stands up, talks for 2 minutes, and everybody's spellbound. Because people realize this speech is amazing. It's interesting that when people come here, I have people from Asia, South America, and Europe, and they have it memorized. They know it better than a lot of Americans.
Wow, okay.
It should make us all wonder, you know, and be grateful to be Americans. Because this speech, this man is such an inspiration to other countries that want to be free like us. Yeah. The other mural, obviously, same artist, same techniques. We again have an angel in the middle. It's the angel of truth again. This time her wings are not raised as high, and this time her arms are down, and she's holding together the hands of 2 combatants. She's holding the hands together of the North and South, because this mural represents the end of the war and reunification. It's time for everybody to come back together. The speech below the mural was one of his last speeches. This speech is towards the end of the war. It's right after he was elected for his 2nd term. A lot of people didn't realize he was elected for a 2nd term because he only lived a couple of months. This speech was in March 1865. He was assassinated a month later in April 1865 at the Theater in D.C. This speech is very famous, it's very somber, it's very serious. He knows the war is going to end and that Union's going to win, but he is not bragging or gloating. This speech has a very sad, stern tone because 600,000 people have died. And this has worn him out, this has exhausted him. He looks way older than his 56 years. And in this speech he comes down and he tells the country that we as a whole, as America, were to blame for this war. That we as a whole country were responsible for slavery. It's not, he says, it's too easy just to scapegoat the South. We all have to accept responsibility for this war. Which is quite powerful of him to do that, and gracious. The end of the speech has the very famous sentences that we all learned when we were in school. Malice towards none and charity for all. So what he's again saying, no matter how we may feel, no matter how many people we've lost, the South they are Americans, and we are going to reunite with the South again, and we are going to move this country forward. And we are not going to scapegoat, and we're not going to punish the enemy, because this is America. and we're going to come back together. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the statue. Gotta talk about the statue. I already told you it was Georgia marble. Now the artist, the sculptor, couldn't find one big unblemished block. To get the color he wanted, he had to get 28 blocks. It's hard to see the lines because it is so well put together. Darn skeeters, there we go. If you guys walk around closely, and you may, of course, you will see some of the lines from the 28 blocks. The statue is about 19 foot tall sitting. It would be 28 foot tall if he stood up. What looks like a cloak or blanket around his back is the American flag. The shoe going forward is a sculptor giving an impression of Mr. Lincoln moving the country forward. The hands and face look very lifelike because they are. The hands and face, he used 1860, an artist plaster casted a live mask of Mr. Lincoln's face and hands. So that's why that looks so real, because that's about as good as it gets in looking real. Last but not least, one of the reasons I had you at the bottom to show you these. Notice that underneath Mr. Lincoln's hands, there we go, the fosses again. One under each hand, just like we had two out there. The two out there, though, had axe heads, showing the ability to take lives. But now the war is over, and when the wars end, whether it's World War II or whatever war, the president hands the power to take lives back to the judicial system. Now only courts can take lives. He can no longer take lives as a president. That's how our country's constitution works. So there's no axe heads. But the Fosses bundles are still there to show that if you took one rod, which represents one state, you could break it quite easily. But you can't break 50 rods bound together tightly. That's the United States of America, and that's why the sculptor wanted that very important symbol in it to represent that unity. And then, of course, on the top of it, there we go again. In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. This memorial is dedicated to preservation of the Union and freedom and emancipation for the slaves. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you have